Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, probably when you're watching this, unless you are one of the very, very early risers, you can have access to the brand new Axis vs. Allies game mode that's coming out in apparently 10.3. Because the new PT server went up today. Well, tomorrow for me, today for you guys. Your client should have updated today, and the event begins, well, the test period begins tomorrow, and runs from tomorrow through the 28th. So you have pretty much this weekend to get your hands on this and see what it's all about. Now, this is not just a public test of Axis vs. Allies, but a test of 10.3 as well. Unfortunately, you cannot get your hands on the new German destroyers. I think you might actually be able to get your hands on Cristoforo Colombo, because it doesn't say one way or another in the article, which I will link to in the description down below, that you can't get your hands on the Colombo. It says you cannot get your hands on the new German destroyers, but I've read through this thing several times, making sure I didn't miss anything, and it doesn't say that you can't touch Colombo, so see if you guys can do that. I'm of course stuck at work while this update is going live, so I won't be able to get my hands on it until later, but you guys can go have fun on Axis vs. Allies. Now, the way you access this is you have to download the public test client. The way you do this is pretty simple. You open up your Wargaming Game Center, go over to World of Warships, go to the Settings button, click that, and click Download Additional Instance. Once you bring that window up, go over to where it says World of Warships, hit the drop-down menu, click on Public Test, and then click the big Install button. And there you go. You now have the Public Test client on your computer, and anytime that the client gets updated, of course, that will be updated as well, and you can have access to the new public test server. It's a very, very good thing to have, because you can often get plenty of rewards from playing on the public test server, and of course helps the game out too. You know, the more people that we have testing new ships and new features and such, the more feedback the devs can get, and that's always a good thing. I know I just started a whole conversation about whether or not the devs actually listen to feedback, but it's good to test things, and you get stuff out of it too. You get doubloons and signal flags and stuff, and credits on occasion. Anyway, so Axis vs. Allies. Now, of course, I can't play it right now because the event hasn't started. It starts this Thursday, runs through the 28th, so basically runs for the weekend. However, we can of course talk about what has been the hotbed issue for Axis vs. Allies, and that is, well, the balancing, because it is set at Tier 8. And the way Axis vs. Allies work, only real ships that were launched in real life can participate in this game mode, which is cool. That's a very cool thing, having only real still ships in a game mode. That is something people have been complaining about for a very long time, wanting a game mode like this. Now, we have it, at least a test version of it before the update goes out. However, there have been several balance issues pointed out with this game mode, which, if you are going by a historical point of view, the simple answer is yes, that's how it was in real life. Of course, one of the biggest issues is that the Axis don't have radar, which historically is fairly accurate. The Germans did have radar. It wasn't the best radar ever. Of course, Bismarck's radar got yeeted by its cannons when it fired its very first salvo, but they did have radar. Very, I wouldn't say primitive, but it wasn't up to the snuff of the Allies' radar, like the American radar and the British radar. But that is fairly accurate. I mean, if we're being honest here. However, one issue that is not a historical thing, but a game limitation, is that this is at Tier 8. Meaning that the Axis don't have any battleships with guns larger than 15 inches. You've got the Bismarck and the Tirpitz for the Germans. Italy, you got the Roma and the Vittorio Veneto, and Japan, you don't have any because the Amagi was never completed. So they're stuck with 15-inch guns. Now, if this was, let's say, Tier 8 to 10, then you could, of course, throw the Musashi and the Yamato in there, and then you'd have the issue of, well, they have 18.1-inch guns on the Axis side and not on the Ally side. However, I do think just the sheer utility that the Ally ships are bringing to this game mode would probably be enough to counteract that, if we're being honest here. But that is where we're at. It's stuck at Tier 8, so yeah. Not to mention, too, that there's a whole lot more variety on the Allies side, which, again, is historically accurate. The USA pumped out a lot of ships during World War II. I mean, a lot. It's kind of hilarious when you hit the drop-down menu for the USA in the website, and it's just like 20 ships at least. I mean, we got Benson, Kidd, Baltimore, Cleveland, Wichita, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Alabama, and it's 20 variants just there. Lexington, Saipan, Enterprise, and Montpelier. Like, geez, compare that to the Soviet Union, which is Envoy Chappie and Mikhail Kutuzov. Freaking hilarious. But yeah, that is historically accurate. And of course, CVs. I mean, you got the Japanese CVs. That's all you can get on the Axis side. You know, we've got the Kaga and the Shokaku. That's it. Meanwhile, on the Allies side, they get, of course, the Lexington, the Saipan, and the Enterprise, and the Implacable, and the Indomitable. Not that the Indomitable's a fantastic ship, but it's more variety than the Axis kit. So my predictions for this is that it's gonna be, I wouldn't say, well, it might be fairly one-sided depending upon how it goes, because the German battleships, the Bismarck and the Tirpitz, they are very good battleships when they can get into their zone of within their secondary range and their secondaries rocking and rolling. And at that range, you know, their gun accuracy, they certainly don't have the best accuracy. However, it's a far cry better now than what German battleship accuracy was, you know, 2 years ago. So if they're within their secondary range and they're able to get within a secondary range, they are going to be very deadly ships. And of course, they have 32 millimeters of bow armor, and nothing that the Allies have can, of course, overmatch that armor. They are incredibly tanky ships, and when they are top tier, they are some of the best ships at their tier. However, this is going to fall apart quite quickly with the CVs, because the USA has access to Enterprise, which is just a flat-out broken CV. And Enterprise isn't that popular anymore, not because it's, you know, not good or anything, just because, you know, it's been quite some time since it's been yanked, and I play a lot of higher tier matches from tier 8 and up. I think like my average tier played is like 8.2 or 8.5 or something like that, and I really don't run to Enterprises that much unless we get into like ranked and someone's using it to rank out. So the Enterprise factor may not be that big of a deal, but just simply put, the better carriers are on the Ally side. I mean, that's simply the truth of it. And that's going to be an issue because the Axis ships don't have that great of AA. The German ships certainly don't. I mean, Bismarck, if you have the B-hull Bismarck, it had decent AA back in the day, but again, like we all know what AA is right now, it's not really that great. Italy's, their ships certainly don't have the best of AA at all, and nor do the Japanese ships. Most of the AA is going to be on the Allied side. I mean, USA cruisers, American cruisers are known for their AA, so that's going to be fun for the Axis CVs, but there may not be that many CVs involved. And if there aren't any CVs involved, it might be a somewhat balanced game mode if the Axis players understand that they are going to have to push and push hard. And if they do that, I think it'll be a pretty fun mode because it'll force them to play close in because they kind of have to, because their heavy units, their battleships, can't really snipe. I mean, you've got a Bismarck and a Tirpitz and a Roma with SAP to choose from for your battleships. None of those ships can... Oh my god, I just noticed something. They added in the Graf Zeppelin on the Germans. What? They did. Wow. I just noticed that. Well, I'm looking at the website right now. They added in the Graf Zeppelin so they can have another CV. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Why would you bring up Graf Zeppelin? Poor Graf Zeppelin. I'm not hating on the Graf Zeppelin. I really do like the carrier just because it's kind of, you know, derpy. But, you know, back in the day, like a year ago, it was kind of an okay carrier. And now it's just like, it's been nerfed so many times that it's just a sad shadow of what the Graf Zeppelin was supposed to be when it originally was in development. So, okay, you can take a Graf Zeppelin. So you can take what is essentially a very large heavy cruiser with 3 flavors of spotting planes that can occasionally do some damage. Wow. I guess they stretched that there. I mean, because Graf Zeppelin was launched, I think it was like 95% completed before the Germans abandoned it. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, if the Axis players realize they have to push, and if they do push, it could be a fun mode. But just the sheer amount of radar that's going to be coming from the ally side is going to be pretty mental. The destroyers are not going to be able to smoke up, and well, they're probably not going to be able to use smoke at all, to be honest, which they don't have the best gunboats either. Thinking about that now on the Axis side, the allies, they've got the Soviet gunboats, and they've got the French gunboat DDs. The Axis, I mean, do they have the nope. I mean, they've got the Akazuki. That's a pretty good gunboat. It's not a running gunboat. It's more of a sit and smoke and dock a boat, which it can't do. They certainly do have the torp advantage with the Japanese torpedo boats, and they have the Asashio on the Axis side too. So that could be, just nuking the crap out of the battleships. But again, I guess we'll just see. I mean, I know a lot of people have already said this is going to be a disaster and such. I think a good way to fix this would be to open it up from like tier 8 through 10. I think just having the Yami and the Musashi in there for the Axis would be a really big pickup for them in terms of balancing. And opening up to tier 10, you do have like the Des Moines on the ally side and one or two other ships that are really good powerhouses. But just having the ability to bring 18-inch guns to the table, I do think that would make it a bit fairer. And they could, choose to tweak it in some other ways too. They were messing with like asymmetric battles, where one side had a lot of high tier ships, one side had a lot of low tier ships, and those are pretty fun too. That could have been them testing out an idea of how to balance this. But I guess we won't really know until we try it. So I encourage you guys to go ahead, download the client, and try it out for yourselves. I will try it out when I get home from work, and that will probably be what Friday's video is covering. And, we'll see how it goes. And, a lot of people, they've been hating on this since it was announced. But hey, look, they're trying something new. It's a new game mode, and I think we should support them trying to do this and add variety to the game, because that is a very, 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 very good thing. That's my 2 cents on the subject. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way now to 25,000 subs. We passed 23,400 a few days ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Thursday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.